Don't forget to check out Molly Morris at m3virtualaccounting.com to get some help with any virtual business you may have, but also just with your private finances. If you find yourself sort of scrambling around tax time and you think you could use some help, Molly is really affordable, works with you on what you need, and she will consult with you totally for free to see if she can do anything for you. So go to M3 Virtual Accounting and set up a free consult today.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Ted Lasso, Season 3, Episode 6, Sunflowers. In this episode, the team goes to a friendly game in Amsterdam, and everybody splits off and has really wild nights, but not wild in the way that you would think a night in Amsterdam would usually be wild. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
This episode, it's funny because Chris is in the chat saying I didn't finish this in my rewatch, but I also wasn't a fan. And I was going to start this episode by saying that this might be my favorite episode of the series so far.
Stacy's in the chat, and she says that she loves this episode. This was the breakout episode so far of the series as far as reception.
Mm-hmm.
Just about everybody loved it. There are a couple people who didn't, a couple of folks out there who like to be contrary, looking at you, Chris. But,
yeah, Chris.
But it was generally, there were some people who were very lukewarm on season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the episode that brought all the boys to the yard. Everybody was like, there's the show I love. Finally, all that jazz. But you liked it? You really enjoyed it?
I really did. This is something that is like close to my heart. And I've noticed this in terms of other stuff that I cover as well. But anime is a really big one for me, where I thrive on episodes or chapters of books where nothing plot-wise moves forward necessarily, but you get tons of character time. And they're doing like goofy side stuff that isn't pertaining to our main mission or whatever, but you get to see people like in a relaxed state, engaging with people that they may not talk to very much, in situations that you don't usually see them in. And it just, I always like characters more than I care about the plot. Characters are, to me, what makes a plot interesting. Like your plot can be very compelling, but if the characters aren't there, why should I give a shit? So if you let me just like have dessert like this here and there, where it's just a fun situation that people find themselves in, and they're folks that I've gotten to know, this is like exactly my shit. I love this kind of stuff.
I'm glad. I wasn't sure. I thought you would like it, but I wasn't 100% sure what your take would be, because there's so much going on so far this season that's like outside a little bit of what we're used to seeing, that I wasn't sure if you would love it or if you would just think it was a distraction that we didn't have time for. So I'm glad that I love this episode.
Yeah, I feel like that because there's so much stuff going on outside of what we're used to, we needed this to recenter us with our friends that we haven't seen for a while, because everybody has like gotten very fond of the characters on this show. And then you start this season and it's in total turmoil. We're playing badly. Roy and Keely broke up. Like there's a bunch of shit that's just going poorly. So getting to see everybody like chill and also mostly have a really good night, even though it looks different for everybody, what that means.
Yeah.
It's just like, I finally feel like, okay, we're reconnected now. I'm in the season. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it, kids. Let's talk about it. So yeah, they're having a friendly, which is just an
Mhm.
exhibition game in Amsterdam, and the episode opens with them just losing.
Yes. And
They've
they're
traveled all
sitting
this
with
way.
a woman named Marjolaine. Is she like the mayor of Amsterdam? I don't know what how anything works. Is she the owner of the other team?
I assume
that's
she
it.
because they're like in a box. I mean, not that the mayor wouldn't have a box, but I just assumed it was like the host team. You know, they're
maybe that's it.
The team they're playing, they're being hosted, so they're sitting in her box. Is what my assumption was.
But yeah, she's like kind of, hey, sorry that we're hosting and we are absolutely beating your asses into the dirt because it's 5-0, which is truly just shocking. And Rebecca is like, listen, considering everything, I think it's fine. And we see that there's a bunch of people that are in the stands holding signs up that say, without Zava, why bother? Why bother? Am I right? Without Zava, why bother? And it's just like a friendly game. It doesn't mean anything to the overall season.
Right.
But Christ, that's almost worse. Yeah, you know, like you would think like, oh, when we're relaxed, at least we can play because we're just playing for fun and who cares? And if you're just playing for fun and even then you can't get your shit together, you got a real problem on your hands, you know?
Yeah, the team is definitely
it was just surprising to see how bad it goes for a while here. Like, what is this, third episode straight?
Yeah, the last one was Signs, and that's when they played was it Manchester? Did they play Man City or Man United because they played Nate, right?
Nate is in the one before that, which is Big Day.
And then they
or Big Week or whatever.
Week.
Yeah.
So they're on a bit of a downward trend.
Yeah.
To put it nicely. But yeah, the game is over at the very beginning. So the whole episode is just about their time in Amsterdam. I love this. We go to an interview Roy is giving with Jan Maas in the hallway.
Chris is in the chat. It's a pretend game. This is a pretend podcast. You're pretend host. I'm pretend watch. Yeah. Roy is really trying to make it like, who cares? It's not a big deal. And he's seething and dying inside. Like, it's just killing him.
He like knocks the poster of Zava off the wall and then kicks it.
And I love that in the stands they begin to sing "Don't Worry About a Thing," and Rebecca just like shotguns the rest of her champagne while saying, "God, this song is depressing." Which really, I don't know, that shit got me a little bit. Like, I honestly, this is a song that works on me. The instant it starts playing, I feel my shoulders drop and my breathing slow down. It's just one of those, like, you know, a lot of music that's supposed to be calming. I'm like, I know what you're trying to do. And I just get like contrary about it. But this is one I have no willpower against. As soon as it starts the opening notes, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the stuff.
It is not a song that I go to often, as much as I like his catalog altogether. That's not one of my favorites. So I don't hear it very often. When I do, it's usually in this context. It's being played on like a TV show or a commercial or something.
Bob Marley's, he was played in my house a lot growing up. My dad was like a humongous fan.
Oh, really?
And yeah, real big.
Oh, and that's cool.
Then there was a period where I barely heard him at all. And then I moved to London for a little while and it was freezing in my apartment. And one day I was like, what would make me feel warm? And I was like, some reggae music that just makes you feel like it's hot out. Like, and I started playing it again and I got so emotional. You know how that is when you reconnect with something you haven't heard in a long time and you're just like, oh my God, I remember like every note of this. And since then it's been in my rotation pretty heavy. He is just like, she's just very good.
It's very, very
you heard it here
good.
first, folks.
Yeah, If you guys
Good at
didn't
music.
know, there's this guy you should check out. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or anything. He's really very like unknown, you know, super underground.
So we go into the hall, and Keeley is talking to Rebecca, and I always call him Leslie. What's his last name? What do you call him?
Higgins.
Higgins. Thank you. Higgins is telling them that it's his first time in Amsterdam, so he's going to the red light district. And I love, this is the first of a couple times where people look at each other and go, nah.
I love this. I love this. It's such a corny sitcom-y joke. And you guys know I'm a huge sucker for those. And I just, every time, like the lead in, because everything he's saying, of course, we're all thinking, you know, like Van Damme, we're all like, sex show. and then just like, but it's Higgins.
But at the same time, immediately you're like, yeah, that can't be it though.
Exactly, right? At one point, somebody, who is it, is like, I think it's Will. It's like, is everything okay with it? Your wife is at home?
Is everything okay at home? Oh, that was great. So he takes off, and we're left with Rebecca and Keeley. And Rebecca is assuming that she and Keeley are going to like spend the evening doing something. But it turns out that Keeley has other plans where Jack has her private plane here, and they're gonna go. Yeah. Tonight is apparently the best Aurora Borealis ever. It's the Aurora Borealis in Norway. Jack and her plane are waiting for me at the airport right now.
Yeah, so she basically not ditches, but, well, I was going to say bail. Those both have negative connotations, but yeah, she basically bails on Rebecca.
Yeah. And I'm not mad at it at all. And I don't think Rebecca's mad. She's just a little disappointed because this was her plan. And I think that's the thing. When you start to take it for granted, somebody's always going to be around to hang out with that you don't even ask if they're going to be around until like the moment you're making plans.
Right.
Then you got to start to consider maybe the way you're looking at them as well as you're just like default, you know?
And you can't be mad at someone else if you haven't like given them, like she just assumes, you know? I mean, granted, I guess to be fair, Keeley could have maybe led with this information earlier in the day, but you know, what can you do?
She may have just gotten a text, you know, while they were like watching the game, and maybe it didn't come up. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I just want to note
too,
Keeley looks so anime girl here right now. Very like, I guess e-girl is really the thing, but she's got like this very fluffy pink jacket, and her hair is done in that half up two pigtails with little pom-poms at the top, and you know, the extensions so that it's like super long underneath, and then her giant eyes with the eyelashes. She just looks like a cartoon right here, and she's adorable. But yeah, so she runs off, and Rebecca, despite being disappointed, is like very supportive. Keeley says, I'll make it up to you, and she's like, oh yeah, you will. And when she leaves, she's thanking Roy for doing this, and he says, yeah, anytime. I love that he walks away in the middle of the selfie.
It's so good.
He so does not give any shits.
I can't wait to get to that level. I'm very, very close. I'm not quite there, but I'm getting closer by the day. I love too that as 5 years. As soon as Keeley turns her back, that's when he like bounces off out of the picture. He like stands there like it's no big deal.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad to do it. Fucking all the way off the instant he can. And he walks up to Rebecca and says, where's she going? And Rebecca says, to someone who believes they deserve her. And I was like,
excellent.
Rebecca, Rebecca with the razor scalpel here, just cutting directly to his heart and excising it, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Ruthless.
Leaves him standing there.
Completely speechless.
Jaw practically on the floor. It is a phenomenal moment. And Rebecca has this expression on her face when she says it. That is like daring any of us to say shit about it, right? Like even watching at home, I was like, oh, I don't have nothing to say about that. You were 100% right, ma'am. You are correct. Yeah, I love it.
So
and it's like it makes you think of the moment when he's telling Rebecca in season 2, I guess, maybe, how she shouldn't settle. You know, it's like it's said, like very matter of factly. It's not even with like a lot of like it's a little shady, but it's mostly just coming from a place of like, we are honest with each other. We have a history of being honest with each other when it comes to this particular type of shit. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, like you told me one time. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love this moment because we know that they have established this type of rapport, at least around this one particular area, right? Yeah.
And it's just, I you know, we had the whole, like, some people like to quit before they're fired. And, you know, we're dancing around the topic, but she's just like, you expected to be left because you don't think you deserve her. And that's what happened there. And we know that's what happened because we're not fucking idiots and we watched it. And I just like that it was flat out said here. So Roy gets on the bus looking like a thundercloud, and Ted and Beard both are like, ooh, yikes, he's in a mood. But then they turn and see everybody's in a mood.
Yeah.
And he says, all right, you know what we're going to do? And he says, I'm going to say something that what does he say? A coach should never say. He says, like, I'm about to say 3 words and they're all making guesses. They're all shit.
Live, laugh,
knowledge is power. Live, laugh, love. Correct answer is no curfew tonight. Yeah. And I love the expression on Beard's face when he says this. Beard's eyes. It's unclear to me if this is a reaction like, I don't think this is a good idea, or I didn't expect you to say this, or if it's just like, I get to stay out all night. I think that's the reaction. Is Beard like the evening opens up before his eyes?
Yeah. I think that is like the evening opening up, the possibilities of the evening. If there's one thing Beard loves, it's possibilities of a night.
True.
And I think that in considering where they are, like for Beard, it is like this could be a night of magic. Like there's no telling what he could get into. And I also think that it's a little bit of surprise that this is Ted's idea. You know?
Yes.
It didn't have to be brought to Ted like, hey, don't you think we should give the boys a night off? You know, Ted gets here on his own. And I think there's a little bit of Beard being like, oh, word? Really? Okay.
I like that. But yeah, we're getting back on the bus at 10 a.m. So I don't want to see your pretty faces until then. And he says, let's be careful out there. Hill Street Blues. Do you know what this is meaning?
Yeah. So Hill Street Blues, like I'm taking it you never watched. It was a cop show. In every episode, they would start with like, I forget what you call them, but like you have your beat cops and you're all in the conference room, and then there's like a sergeant or whatever giving everybody their patrols for the day. You know,
okay.
Johnson and Jefferson, you're going to be up on 34th Street. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And then the last thing they would say is be careful out there. And that was just how everything, every time it went.
Okay. So, the boys are all planning where they're going to go and meet up at 5 in the lobby. And Jamie's like, tonight's going to be crazy. And then Roy chimes in with, it's going to be crazy shitty for you only. You're not on fucking holiday from training. And I love this. When Jamie says, what about my stuff? He takes his bag from him and hands it to Kit Boy. What's his name again?
Will.
And it's just like, throw this away.
And Jamie comes up and stops by Will and is like, don't throw that away.
Don't actually do the thing. Thanks. Appreciate you.
I want to mention, too, that after Ted tells everybody there's no curfew, when he tells Beard, that the boys need it, Beard says, not as much as you do.
Mm-hmm. True.
So, yeah.
This is when Higgins invites Will to roll with him tonight. Will looks delighted until he says, first stop, red light district. And Will's whole face just pauses, is the way I want to put it. It's just a real, pause. What? And then we go to the opening credits. And when we open back up, Jamie, this was what I wanted. Remember I said I was hoping for more Jamie Roy hijinks?
Yes, you did.
Kids, this is exactly my shit that I was looking for.
You almost said exactly this.
Yep.
And I just had to sit here like it was nothing.
I just can't, the chemistry between these two actors is just so good. We all know there's the trope of complete foils against each other. And what's interesting is that Jamie hasn't really been because, we've got the sunshine one and we've got the cranky one. And he hasn't really been the sunshine one in general, but that's definitely the role he's playing in this episode because he's delighted to be in Amsterdam and it just has such a positive attitude about
this has taken their relationship to almost Muppet status, and I think it's done almost intentionally because we all know that Brett Goldstein is a huge fan, right? This is almost cartoonish, where Jamie is literally in every scene bouncing up and down with excitement and just joy at where he is and what they're doing and what's happening. You know what I mean? He's like, do you remember there was a series of cartoons, and I want to say it was Tom and Jerry, but it might have been I don't even remember which cartoon it was, but there's two dogs, right? One is a big
inside you
gruff. Yeah. One's a big gruff kind of mean, bulldog, real tough. And then he has a little sidekick that bounces around and yips and
okay boss,
just that is the energy that these two are given. It's just, and it's to such an extreme in this episode you can't take your eyes off of it. It's so over the top. It's they're not even real people, most of it. So then when you have the real moments of connection between the two of them, in my opinion, it really hits because it's grounding what could otherwise be almost you can't even take their relationship serious, right? But then,
yes.
But then and so I just really love the way they played the two of them together. They're so much fun to watch on screen.
I just really like too, the approach that's happening here because, Roy's whole thing is I want to ruin your night. That's really his goal. Let's be fucking honest. He just wants to make somebody as miserable as he is.
He comes right out and tells Jamie that I've been taking out my negative emotions on you. I just been dumping all my shit on you because I felt bad and I wanted to make somebody else feel bad. And Jamie is the unsinkable Molly Brown this whole fucking episode. He's just nope,
he's bouncing in place. And what I love is Roy basically was I'm going to run him into the ground. And I'm thinking, as this is beginning, Roy, no offense.
You can't keep up with him.
You're not running anybody his age into the ground when they are in his shape. What do you think is going to happen?
And you got a bad knee, Roy. We all know that knee is not going to hold up for all this.
This as well. Yeah.
It's so but Roy is so angry and just so focused on his anger and wanting to I'm going to use the word abuse, but bully is maybe a better word. Bully somebody because he's just got all this shit going on. He doesn't feel good about himself, right? So he's going to take it out on somebody else. And the person he thinks he's going to run into the ground is running literal circles around him.
Literal circles.
Like, there's a couple of scenes where he's like a whole block ahead of Roy.
I love this so much. Like, it could very easily have been played like Jamie's aware of what Roy's trying to do, and he's determined to not let Roy bring him down. But instead, it's very organic. I'm just having a great time. I love this city. I know all kinds of things about it. I can't wait to show you the stuff that I know about. Like, and I just really enjoy. This is like, it reminds me, and this is a weird comparison to make, but back when I used to train for triathlons, I was taking some different like classes, swimming and cycling classes. And it's weird how much technique there is in cycling. I did not know, but there is, and it sucks. And I took a class with a woman that, as somebody who is fat and was even fat then, though not as fat as I am now, you know, when you are joining a group for something athletic, the look you get where somebody's clearly a little concerned about whether or not you're going to be able to like keep up. There's just a vibe that you get. And it's not necessarily always like mean spirited. It's just a coach who's used to dealing with a certain level of athlete, and they see you and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to adjust a little bit kind of thing. And at the time, I was more athletic than now, but I still was carrying enough weight that it made some things hard. So I joined this class, and there were 4 other women. It was brutal. And I struggled to keep up. I did. But I also joked a lot about how much this sucked and was hard. And we're going to do it. Let's go, guys. Let's do it. And I remember the coach being like, kind of like, oh, okay. And when I finally moved away, I had to stop taking her classes. And she said, oh, I'm going to miss you in class so much. You like just brought the energy up a lot. And it meant a lot to think like, I don't have to be the best athlete to like bring something to the experience with everybody, you know? And I think that that's like, even if you aren't going to be able to keep up, even if you struggle, and even if it is hard and you're in the middle of the class going, why did I do this to myself? I hate this. Trust me, there's a lot of points where I fucking hated it. You can acknowledge that and just say it without it being like a complaint, without it being like, oh God, I hate this. When are we done?
Right.
You can take it like tack with it that is giving voice to that, but also like, yeah, but here we are and we're going to do what we're here for.
Right.
Sam, you never do this, buddy. What is it? Is it all my talk about positivity? Is that what it is? It's drawing you here because you can't resist it. But anyway, this just kind of reminded me of that. Of like, even if it is rough for you, sometimes just being like, oh my God, I want to fucking die. Jesus Christ, with like a smile. It's enough, you know? And everybody, even if they are doing well, usually are still feeling that way. Even if they're like at the front of the pack, they're all so tired.
I love,
but yeah.
I love too that Jamie has been like such a dolt throughout the series. Like, we just sort of like a bimbo and airhead and blah, 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 right? He has all of these little factoids and little bits of information. He's like low-key an expert, you know, like using that phrase really loosely. But he is in an element where he has information and knowledge to share.
Yes.
And it's really fun to see his character in that position and just being, you know, like knowing a bunch of shit about stuff you wouldn't think he would know about. Like, what? There's the bench from A Fault in Our Stars. And then he yells back, the movie.
Chris says, damn it, I was making dinner. Were you talking about the 2 bulldogs? What are we going to do now, Spike? Huh? What are we going to do now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the one. Stacey says puppy sighting. Yes. If you were here live, which you're not, if you're listening to this, but you would have seen this adorable puppy who is standing here just letting me pet his head right next to me.
A little snout making its way into the frame.
Oh, booping his snoot. So we'll come back to the 2 of them. Now we go over to Rebecca.
Oh my God,
who
I'm sorry. I
is-
just saw Jamie do the cartwheel.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one too. Very tight cartwheel.
Good form. Good form. All right. So then, we go
we
to
have
Rebecca.
an amazing moment where she gets a call from Sassy, who is like, "Hey, what's wrong?"
I love
And
this.
she says, "Nothing is wrong. What do you mean?" And Sassy's like, "I had that weird hot feeling in my stomach. Something's wrong." And then, like a minute and a half after this call, she gets knocked into the canal. And I really feel like Sassy was picking up on her, like, near drowning here. But at the moment, she's just standing, as we find out later, in the bike lane, almost being run down.
At one point, Sassy's like, "What are all those bells? Are you in a casino?" And then this very attractive Dutch man yells to her, and instead of just being like, "Hey, you're in a bike lane," he's just like, "Hey, I wanted to tell this beautiful woman something." And then, she goes right over the edge.
It's so funny because, like, him saying, because he whistles to get her attention and is yelling, "I saw you walking just there, and I said I have to say something to this beautiful woman," which really feels like a very lame come on. Like, it sucks in the moment, right?
Right.
And as she's saying, "What exactly were you?" And she gets almost knocked down by a bike going one way and then starts to turn, and there's another coming from the other way. And she goes right over the edge. And honestly, this sort of moment is really hard to make believable. But this was the sort of thing that I could definitely believe while I watched it. That, like, getting that close to two people that quick who are speeding past you. Yeah, I could definitely see myself like flying over the edge of something. So she falls in, and I love that it looked like he was going to jump in the water to save her. He does not.
No, he does
stays
not.
the fuck on his boat, and I appreciated it because, one, probably that canal is not that deep. But two, he's just assuming I'm sure she can swim and doesn't need my help.
Right.
And I really love there's a moment in Jane the Virgin where she like falls backward into the pool and somebody jumps in and is trying to like save her, and she literally stands up and like looks at them because it's like a 4-foot deep pool. And I just always like that moment.
That's a solid joke.
But yeah, Rebecca drops her phone. And he's like, "Did you see where it went?" And he says, "Who cares? You're alive." And I'm like, no. Find your phone, girl. Do find your phone. But
I mean, is it going to be any good at this point? It's submerged underneath in the canal. How good is it going to be?
You can take it sometimes out and dehydrate it and get it to work for a little while longer.
That's true. Mine worked on the way home from Orlando that first time.
See? Yeah.
It got me home. It died pretty soon after that, but it did get me home.
And that's the main thing.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Did any of this bridge, canal stuff, did this feel familiar to you? Did you?
Yeah, this is the other thing the psychic said about, like, I'm wet, but I'm okay, or whatever it is that she said.
Yeah, you're upside down, you're wet and drenched, but you're safe.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say right here, R.E. Dutchman. Yowza. The minute the camera is on him on the phone and he's smoking, I was like, what is up, dude? And it did not get anything but worse as the episode went on. He just gets like hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter every fucking moment. And it ends in this point where she falls asleep on the couch, and I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and scream in her face, "Bitch, wake up! What are you doing? Oh my God!" Like, I couldn't believe that she fell asleep. I was so mad at her. Just fuck him, Rebecca. Do it. I know at the end, the whole thing is how he's like, "Oh, we did. I'm sorry. You didn't.
No, they
You didn't
didn't.
enough. Like,
I mean, they did something very important, but they didn't do that, right? And we all wanted them to do that because she deserves it and he's hot as fuck. So what's the problem here?
We don't know his name, right? Dutchman?
No, we don't ever get his name. They have that really awkward next morning when she realizes she doesn't know his name and he doesn't know hers, but then they kiss instead of introducing, like saying their names.
And they don't exchange numbers.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess she could have taken his number down on a piece of paper. He could have just written it. Oh, yeah. He also threw his phone in the canal too. I guess they both assume they're going to have new phone numbers. That. Like maybe they're both going to have new numbers. So
you don't get a new number when you get a new phone. You just get a phone attached to the same number.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know. They don't exchange numbers. They don't exchange names. It's also one of those things. I think Rebecca is treating it like this was just sort of a one-off. Sometimes the universe just gives you one perfect evening and it's like you shouldn't even expect more than that. Like I've had nights like that. I've had weekends like that where you know you're never going to see these people again. You're probably never going to be in this place again, but everything just lines up like the universe wanted you to be right there. And then you're just like, I don't even want to be greedy, universe. That was perfect. It was perfect. It would be too much if I expected anything more. I'm just gonna take this yummy and go. And it feels very much like that's how Rebecca's choosing to look at this. Just kind of like the universe knew I needed something. You know, things have been a little rocky. The team hasn't been doing great. I needed something to recenter and give me like a little hope and a little lift. And I'm just gonna take it, and then go forward with my life. But yeah, they could have wrote those numbers down on a little piece of paper. Pens and paper exist.
You can keep in contact even though you don't expect like another night of perfection. Just look, I'm just really frustrated that she didn't sleep with him, and I respect it. I understand. It's not even I respect it because that's acting like she chose not to. She fell asleep. It was not a choice. I think that if she had had a choice, she probably would have, actually. But I just, this man, just every time he speaks, he says something else really good. Like, he made her tea for when she got out of the shower. Left a note promising it's not drugged, which I appreciate the acknowledgement that this could be what is happening. Because if you even hint to a guy that you may be considering that he's about to traffic you, he will take such personal offense. How could you think that of him?
Right.
And thank you for just being like, I'm not going to do that, by the way.
Acknowledging the reality in which we live.
Yeah.
And that this is something that women have to think about, so it won't kill you to think about it also.
Exactly.
I love too when he comes back later after she's showered and she's like, you didn't have to leave. And he's like, I didn't want you to think I was like staring at you through some little secret peephole. And she makes a joke about like peephole. I would have thought
she's like, I would have just had a webcam, and I was like, oh no, that's so much more likely. She also snoops around a bit and sees that he has a little girl. Well, I say little, it's unclear. It seems like a really bedroom. Feminine room, but I don't know how old she is. And, I was just thinking about how she was going to be a mother, and that's all I was just considering. And then he like asks if she wants to add some brandy to her drink, and she's like, no, I'm just going to get my clothes and take off. But it's like a 2-hour dry cycle for this dryer.
2.5, 2:49.
Yeah, I love this joke. Excuse you, sir. Okay, thank you. He is laughing also. Very funny. This is such a thing. Did you know this about like Europe and their appliances? Compared to like U.S. appliances,
do they just run on like less power?
I think that's it. Is that they use less power but if you put something in a dryer, like in the UK, my experience was I needed to run it through like 3 regular cycles before it was dry. That shit was wet at the end of the first cycle. It was just like nothing. It was almost like, why did I bother going to the laundromat? Kind of, you know what I mean?
That's really funny because Rebecca, lives in the UK. Well, I guess probably she doesn't do a lot of laundry. She probably does a lot of dry cleaning. Because I would think that the dryers in London would be very similar. But she seems really shocked that it takes this long. But that probably has more to do with the fact that she probably doesn't do a lot of laundry.
And it may be even worse because it's a boat dryer.
I figured that's gotta have that was my assumption. I leaned into it being a houseboat way more than I did it being Europe.
Gotcha.
I've never been and have no idea how things work over there. Because I'm a stupid American who doesn't travel.
So she's like, I'm gonna head out once I get my stuff, but then stops and realizes that's literally hours away. And he offers to put her wet clothes in a bag and just call her a cab. Or I could make dinner, and she's like, oh, that does sound really good, actually. And the way that he says it, you could leave with your wet clothes or you could stay and I could make you something to eat. Either way, it does not matter to me at all. Mm-hmm. There was just a whole lot of something in the way he said it all. And then offers to rub her feet, which she does do absolutely not. And his response is not, I wasn't going to try anything, or pretending he's not being creepy. He says, I have excellent technique, and I just lost my mind. There's something about the total matter-of-fact delivery. There's no leering. There's no eyebrow raise.
Well,
there's
he's Dutch. He's Dutch.
Liked it.
Remember when Jan Moss and Sam is just like, oh, don't take it personally. He's not being rude. He's just Dutch. They just say, apparently, they just say, I love when she says no to the foot rub. And he was like, all right, well, you could just have tired feet or something like that.
You could just sit for 2.5 hours with tired feet, sober. And she has a moment of like, oh, God. Mm-hmm. And finally agrees to a drink. And, first, the fact that he's offering to cook, this is not a thing that you run across often. I was engaged to a man who cooked for a little while, and even though he cooked, he didn't really cook, not that much. And how there are some moments where they just look at each other. I wanted to die. The look. This guy can get it. That's all I'm saying. He is... he looked so familiar to me, and I thought maybe he was on Vikings or something. I looked up his IMDb, and there's nothing that's there's almost nothing American, and there's nothing that I recognized that I would have seen. So I think he just looks like a guy from Vikings, but hotter. And because there's a particular character that's sort of weird that shows up that you're like, is he a god or what? Who winds up just knocking women up and then fucking off. And I thought it was him, but he just looks a lot like that guy. So what I'm saying is, who is he? And put him in things, please. I just want to see him more. A lot more of him. Hopefully I'm crossing my fingers. And I really want to say how much I appreciate that, not necessarily just this show, but a lot of shows I think have made some forward movement in men being cast to be strikingly attractive, who actually are strikingly attractive. I'm looking at you, Sex and the City. I don't know what they were thinking with some of their early season men, but they were just like, oh yeah, he was so gorgeous. And then the man would turn and look at the camera and you were like, ugh. Which was my reaction to Chris Noth or whatever Big's name is. Never saw it for him.
He wasn't
weird.
Supposed to be hot, was he?
Mm-hmm. Oh. And I think, once I learned more about the show's production, it was gay men who were writing the dialogue and like, you know, maybe casting. So maybe they were picking off their taste, but it was like for most women I know, there are only like 2 attractive men in all of Sex and the City. So it's just nice that I think that's a product of like women getting more of a say in who's hot and who they're going to cast, you know? So anyway, I just really had to gush about this guy a little bit because, yeah, that worked for me. All right, I'm going to back up and we'll come out of Rebecca's story to talk about Ted. He is here waiting for Beard to finish getting ready, texting Rebecca about the evening and what she's planning on doing. And he sends her a lot and doesn't get any replies because her phone is gone.
Yes. Some gifts, checking in, is not getting any love back. They decide on, Ted finds a place that's like an American style restaurant there. And what's it called? Yankee Doodle Burger Barn, I think.
Yes. Yankee Doodle Burger Barn with the palest onion rings you have ever seen in your life. These bitches need to go in there for at least another 4 minutes.
Yeah,
please.
They did not seem done at all.
Mm-mm.
And he starts to Beard is just like, Beard asked for the rating and it's like a 2.5 or 2.7 or something, and he's just like, I think we could do better than that. And I was like, yeah, everybody
agree.
can do better than that. But then Ted starts to talk to Beard about how he's been feeling.
Yeah.
You know, he feels stuck. He feels unmotivated. You know, wants to change, needs like something to happen to jumpstart him. And I love Beard. I love this moment. You don't know how long I've been waiting for you to say something like this.
He says, I need to get punched in the face or drink a couple bottles of red wine and yell at my mom. And I was like,
I mean, but do you know that
these are the things you're picking there, Ted? Okay. Damn.
I mean, I feel like I know exactly what it means.
I had this feeling in November.
Like shake you.
And then you know what happened?
Oh,
I adopted 9 sick puppies, and I wish to God this thought had never entered my head. I feel like I brought it upon myself. I lied. You're adorable and sweet. You're the best.
It was kind of like getting punched in the face when you got those 9 puppies.
9 times. Punched in the face 9 times.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah. What?
There's a joke there, but from a show, but I couldn't grab it. It's like a 30 Rock joke, but it's very, I can't quite get there.
A 30 Rock joke, okay.
Something about being punched in the face by, I don't know.
A black millionaire?
I can hear like Liz Lemon. It's like a parody, like a maybe a TV movie or something. I don't know. Guys.
I don't know.
It's just like floating in the back.
Somebody
of my
out
head.
there is knowing. They know. So let us know if you know. I want to acknowledge that Beard, as he's getting ready, is using some under eye patches for his complexion, and I was just like, "Word, we got a little skincare routine." Okay.
Yeah, he's like the. So I didn't know what that was. I thought it was for bags under the eye. But whatever it is, I need to get me some. I
think it may be bags. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to set my game up because he's got like this. You know, he's got his pressed jeans, which always make me laugh.
He looks good.
Yeah, he's got like his fancy going out on the town shirt. You know, got the nice shoes on. He's ready. And then Ted is just all frumpy and just
Yeah. He's just letting things happen to him. So what Beard has got going on here is that he has a supplier for, what is it, mushrooms?
Mushrooms, yeah, it's the bus driver.
Let's see. Oh, right, my man Kenneth, the bus driver. That's right. And when Ted is like, don't they have that stuff here? How are you going to pack that in your bag with the TSA? Like, really? Which is super dangerous. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I brought edibles, but edibles can look like regular candy, so it's much easier to just, like, get those through.
Yeah. Mushrooms don't look like anything.
I mean, they look like something not normally carried in luggage enough.
I mean, they just look like mushrooms. Like they're usually very dry and you
don't think
like,
that itself is going to raise suspicion? Nobody's packing
they
dried
like
mushrooms to
like
season their food on their vacation.
I just don't think that it would set off anything that would make anybody like find it. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know, like what, when we're talking about like sniffer dogs, are they trained on mushrooms? Like, I don't know what they're even trained to find, actually.
I think so. I think just basically, what are they smelling for? The big stuff, right? So they're going to smell your weed, they're going to smell your coke. And
heroin?
I guess maybe your heroin, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But he says he doesn't like his medicine to be taxed. Yeah. And there's an eye roll that Ted gives that I thought was a little bit of a not really thinking that was a great idea, but I'll let it go kind of moment. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that.
I don't even know if you fly to Amsterdam if you're in the UK. Do you just drive? Do you just take a bus there? Like, I don't know, guys. I can't even picture the geography.
Yeah, Chris is saying, but they're on a bus. They aren't going through customs, are they? I thought that bus just brought them from the airport. I actually don't know.
It very well could have. I don't know. I mean, it's the bus they took back and forth to the stadium, but like to the airport, all the way back to Richmond, I have no fucking idea.
Like in terms of if they are on a bus, I think that's a long drive, but I genuinely don't know.
Because Richard kept saying all night that they should get on a train and go to Paris. So if you're going to just hop a train and go to Paris for the night,
okay, so that's definitely pick them up from the airport. Yeah, that's fair. I can't get over. I was looking at like potentially planning a trip to go to Europe with my mom, like, several years down the line as a surprise. And you can get from one major like capital of a country to another in like 2 hours, hour and 15 minutes.
Everywhere.
And you can buy a pass for unlimited free rides for a week for like £400.
Yep.
So you could have a week of literally a new country every day, which you would not want to do because that's insane. Yep. But I was really blown away at how affordable it would be to do a major like tour of Europe if you wanted to do that. It would be logistically really tricky, but affordable in a way I didn't think it would be.
A friend shared one of those infographics that was basically just like a map with just all the rail lines crisscrossing.
Comparing to the U.S.
And that shit was so sad, and we should be embarrassed. I am embarrassed.
It's so embarrassing.
Embarrassing. All right. So
So he talks about how bad these things taste and how people hide the taste in other strongly flavored stuff like peanut butter or yogurt, which honestly, what? No, don't use yogurt. Peanut butter, sure.
Mine has always been a beverage. I've never had it in anything other than like being made into a tea of some kind, the way they have it here.
Sounds horrible. What is it that he says? Okay, here it is. Picture a sheet of fresh white snow covering all the footsteps of all the paths you've trod before, forcing you, nay, encouraging you to begin anew. And he says this, and Ted is like trying to get in the spirit, but you could see he says it's still not really quite in the right place. And he says, and how's it taste? And I swear to God, I thought he meant the snow that was just described. And I was like, what? Took me a minute. But yeah, they're having the tea and it takes a minute. He's looking at it, finally says, I just can't do it.
Fucking Peter, meanwhile, this glass is already empty.
Gone. Which is the way I think I would handle this. Because I can't
do it.
Yeah, if something tastes bad, get it over with.
Don't sip it. You just gotta fucking take your medicine.
And don't smell it. If anything, like put a lid over it or pinch your nose, and that will help a lot. Set it up so that you've got your nose pinched, You toss it back as fast as you can, and then you've got something right there to stick in your mouth before you let go of your nostrils again, so that you get almost nothing. That's how I would do it. I just realized that you could take that whole speech out of context and it could be a real different thing.
I mean, it could be.
Hey, it's good advice either way.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Either way, it's good advice.
But yeah, so Beard drinks it, but he sits there doing this weird, like,
oh my God, I love this so
claw
much.
finger. Like, there's like, it's like he's petting the head of a giant cat that nobody can see with both hands.
When
God.
Ted is like, you could go, he jumps up so fucking fast.
Flies out that fucking door.
Out the door. So it looks like Beard is feeling something. And then at the end of the episode, he tells us and Ted that it was a dud batch.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of that.
The fact that he says I didn't feel anything, I'm not sure if I believe him or not. It seemed like you felt something. Right. Is that just how he acts when he's bored? That he just sits there like that? It
could be like he could have been anticipating the trip coming on and was just
maybe
like you know, just like primed, and maybe like you said, that's just kind of how he sits when he's waiting, like expecting anything to happen any second now, you know?
Okay.
But when I was watching it before, you know, the very first time I saw the episode, I was like, oh, this is a man who's about to be tripping his whole face off. Mm-hmm. So when we get to the end of the episode and this is a dud batch, I was like, oh, huh.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just.
I don't know. But I accept that it's maybe meant to be that there really isn't, but I would also accept that it's the joke that Beard thinks there isn't, that it didn't work, and he's just got such a high tolerance that it was almost nothing to him, you know?
That's kind of how I took it towards the end, is that it wouldn't take much to have an impact on someone who hasn't done it before, so Ted could get, you know, some effects from something that wasn't as potent, and someone like Beard and Kenneth, who he says also tried it and reported back that it was done. But we also know Ken is high all the time, so the two of them might not feel anything, but our Ted would still get a little buzz.
We made a batch of weed brownies, Owen and I, that got us both so stoned we were like unable to walk, kind of stoned, and it lasted multiple days, kind of stoned. And our friend, who is a massive pothead, had just as big a piece and was absolutely fine. Her tolerance is in the clouds, the stratosphere. It is insane. At this point, I built up a tolerance from the edibles, which is just such a bummer. I'm having to like take a lot more than I used to for any effect to like
that'll happen,
make itself known.
That will
gets so expensive.
Yeah. It's fun being a cheap date at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So can we go back to the lobby of the hotel now?
Yep.
You guys, I love this so much. Our boys just sit for like 3 hours is the way I'm seeing it. Trying to decide what they're going to do.
There's so much goodness happening here. Everything about it is so fantastic.
I love that at one point they ask Trent to chime in, and he's like talking about how this is like a special event night for museums and they're open quite late. And everybody is so like, we appreciate the contribution, Trent, but we're definitely not doing that.
Good effort. Good try.
I like it. They don't just laugh in his face. They're like, well, you know, under other circumstances, I may have been interested in that. That's not for this evening, though.
Cumbercatch is
respectful.
Like, we can go to The Hague, poke around, ask a few questions.
I wish they'd done that. I would would love to see this entire football team rolling up to The Hague with a fucking, like, a couple of them having some clipboards and pens. Just ask some questions.
There's a couple of other, again, Richard is like, we should just go to Paris because he's just like, any night not in Paris is a waste. Van Damme wants to do the second. Fucking Danny Rojas wants to see a tulip, and somebody says, "You mean in tulip fields?" He says, "No, a whole field would be too overwhelming."
We get that results in jumping ahead a little bit into one of my favorite bits of the whole series to me. So we've got this dude reading off what the results of the voting are. We have 9 votes for sex show. We have 9 votes for private party and 1 vote for tulip. And everybody looks at Danny because he's the tiebreaker. And he says, what? And so I think someone picked tulip, says Danny, because they're like, we have 2 choices. And, but who? Danny, you wrote it in Spanish. Someone wrote it in Spanish. The delivery of the line is
top notch. It's so good. His face, that sort of like, I'm being very, very sneaky, and no one can tell how sneaky I'm being right now. It is fucking.
You could play the scene
so good.
The other way, where you go, someone wrote in Spanish, like, and have him be bashful and you know, just a bit sheepish because he's been caught and he knows he's been caught. That's not what they did. They had him seeming to really think he's like pulling one over on him, like he's really flawless execution of this lie.
Someone wrote it in Spanish. We get
like
Colin.
It's like he's almost going, really good point, Isaac. Interesting.
Right? Oh, I'm so glad you noticed that. It's in Spanish too. The plot thickens. Who could it be?
Oh, God.
It's just a mystery wrapped in a mystery. So Jan Mas has the private party. He name checks somebody who turns out to be like a real person who's a very like famous DJ. I'm not into that particular scene, so it meant nothing to me.
Same.
And then Colin tells everybody that he's not feeling well and heads off for the night. Says he's going to go to bed. He's got a stomach ache. And we see him later when sneaking out, when the guys are really just like going back and forth about what they're going to do for the night. And we see him duck out, and then Trent follows him out into the night. What did you think when, and I might be jumping ahead, but when you see Trent follow Colin out, what was your thought? What did you think was going to happen with that? Anything?
Basically what happened, because I had just sort of at some point decided Trent's gay. And I think I like stopped and was like, do I know that? But I just like, we were talking about his reaction to Roy, and I was just immediately assigning it to like, oh, he's very turned on and kind of lost his head for a second here. But once I like saw that he was pursuing, and I had realized, oh, I've come to the conclusion he's gay, so maybe he'll just want to talk with him about it. That really like it went there, but in a way that I thought if he rolled in, the reaction would be Colin seeing him like, oh, shit. Because I'm thinking it's just all about, I would like to know I'm not alone. But I completely lost track of like, it's his reputation. And this man's writing about you. Like, of course you would panic. That's what I had my whole like perspective all screwed up. So when he freaks out and basically runs away, I was really like, Colin, what are you doing? He's right. You could just talk to him. He just clearly is fine. Like, and there's not a real reason to assume he's not going to write about this. You know, like it could be that he isn't gay and followed you in to be like, ha, You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it fully as he's here in the capacity of I'm gay too and I'll show up at the bar with you. But he's a journalist. Like that may not be
Yeah.
it. So it just my head was totally wrong for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And when he follows Colin out, Colin like almost gets run over by a bike. Also, a lot of
Yeah.
danger with the
Yeah.
bikes in Amsterdam. But it's just like the way that Trent has to go, hey, like he's
Like
approaching a stray
yeah.
cat.
Yeah, exactly. Like Colin is just like,
Yeah.
And he has to tell him, hey, I've known for months and I haven't said anything. Like you can trust me. It's okay. I'm not going to out you.
Yeah.
I love too that the party is going to be called Thunderdong.
They're like putting up the signage for it in the background of the episode.
The bar is called Prick.
Prick. Prik. All in like pink neon, flawless.
I forgot what that means too. I had read somewhere that like it doesn't mean like what you think it means, right? In Dutch. But and then somebody was just like, yeah, we wouldn't have a bar named that. But I still thought it was funny.
Okay. That's too bad, but also it's fine. But okay, let's back up to the boys in the lobby. Sam is like, look, guys, the sex show, it doesn't sound like it'll be hot. It sounds like it's going to be weird and uncomfortable. Which later on, the women who work in the lobby come forward and they describe it as two exhausted people having sex. And
that damn looks so sad.
He's
they're
like,
tired.
Oh, I love this so much because it's their job. Yeah. Like it's work. I get it. Fucking should be fun always, but like it's somebody's job. And that shit has to get very same old. I don't know. So I like that was pointed out. And I also appreciate that Sam can say, I don't want to go to a sex show, and there's no, what are you, gay? Like, not that I would ever expect that from this show, but we can be so aggressive about putting down men who don't have the kind of constant aggressive sex drive that we have painted as, quote, normal.
Yeah.
And I just like that, he says this and a bunch of dudes agree with him.
Yeah, like I like that it's very split, it's like some dudes are into it and some dudes aren't. And I love that, like, they want to go to the party, Jan Maas's cousin's party, but it's 2 hours away.
Yes.
Travel time. And it's like, no one is, like you said, no one is making anybody who doesn't want to go to the sex show feel like they are less of a man because they don't want to go. It's no different than if they, it's just like, oh, you want to go see this movie, but I want to go see a different movie, and that's all there is to it. And this is, I love that this goes on for so long. At the beginning, when they first are in this whatever conference room or whatever they're in at the hotel. Maybe it is just a lobby, but I feel like
I think that's where he said to meet. Was the
that's
lobby.
where it's just something about it feels a little bit more private than the lobby. But the women who work at the hotel offer drinks, and Isaac is like, no, we're only going to be a few minutes. We're going to be right out of here, because the expectation is they're all going to like figure out what they want to do, and then it turns into hours and hours. And at one point, somebody's like, why don't we all just go do whatever the fuck it is you want to go do? Yeah. And Isaac is like, no, this is a team night. We got to do it as a team.
I really wanted to kind of take Isaac's hand there and be like, bud, you're the captain. Decide what we're doing. Just go ahead. Nope. I appreciate wanting to be democratic about it, but there does come a point where it feels like, maybe you should, for one thing, you could squeeze in a sex show and then go to the party. But I understand just the 2 hours thing being really like, I mean, that's a long drive when you have to be back at 10 a.m. I wonder if they could have taken the charter bus. Like,
I assumed that's how they
probably.
were going to get that. That makes no sense, but like I literally assumed they would all just hop on the bus. Like
Yeah.
until this very
Same.
moment, it never occurred to me that anything else was an option. But of course, they're not going to take the team bus. That's a ridiculous thing to think. I absolutely thought they would.
They come to the conclusion finally that we're going to go to the party. Let's see. That's where he comes at before I think they find out that it's 2 hours. But one of them says we need to eat first, right? And they say, what do you want to eat? And then they start arguing about that as well.
All over again.
Somebody says some brownies with marijuana. There's something about the fact that they're suggesting that as like, yeah, we could definitely just go to a restaurant and be like, please give me your marijuana brownie meal. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just a thing. Not to say that you couldn't find it, but it's...
I don't know. It's Amsterdam. I feel like that would just be dessert.
Maybe.
It's their whole thing.
That is a standard dessert.
Is the I mean, we all have legal weed here now, but yeah, that's their whole jam over there. Okay,
listen. Okay, I'm in Texas. I would implore you to remember. It's very, very behind in so many senses.
Yeah, we don't even have recreational here, so I'm actually not even that far away from you. I'm just a smidgen ahead of you with the medical, but that's about it.
So this should we go back to Rebecca here? Well, I'm trying to decide how to handle things because we like.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about their night. I don't know how much more there is to say.
We pretty much covered most of Rebecca and the Dutchman when we talked about them earlier. Because it cuts from the lobby back to her, and this is her like snooping around the house and seeing how long the dryer takes and all that stuff. We can go to Higgins and Will out in the red light district. So what's happening with Higgins is, despite what it sounds like he has planned for the evening,
Indeed.
What he's really doing is going to a jazz club. And he stops at a place where Chet Baker died and gives Will a little history lesson. And then they go to a club, and Higgins is just having the best time. Such a good time that the performers see him in the crowd and invite him up on stage, and he gets to play. There's Will making some eyes at this cute little blonde girl, but she's with a dude, and so you don't really know what's going on there. And it gets a wonderful payoff the next morning when he's on the phone with his mom talking about how great his night was. And he just says, yeah, my boss took me to a club, and then he got up and performed, and then I met this cute girl, and they invited me to be in a threesome. And we don't really know if he said yes to the offer or not. And it's really not our business. You know,
I'm going to say not, because like the way he's talking to his mom, it's just like funny anecdote. Whereas if you're being like, oh, I had a threesome last night, mom, that has a real different energy that doesn't feel like Will to me. But you know, who am I to say? There's nothing wrong with telling your mom.
Even telling your mom that you got propositioned for a threesome, I mean, I feel like that suggests a different type of relationship.
It's different, but it's not that kind of different. For me, if I were propositioned, I would definitely tell my mom. If I did a threesome, I'm not saying anything to her about any of it. That's the exact dynamic for me.
I don't think I would tell my mom if I was propositioned one way or the other.
Yeah, I would. I'd be fine. Like, honestly, though, we probably have like too much openness in that department. So take that.
So we should probably talk about Ted's night, because Ted ends up on his own.
There's one thing with Will that I want to mention.
Okay.
That when Higgins tries to talk to him once the music starts, Will like hand waves him like, shh. And I really, really liked that moment, because it's like the whole way I was interpreting it was he's being brought here and it may or may not be at all interested. But then surprisingly, is really interested to the point that he wants to like solely focus, which is a nice surprise because I thought maybe he wouldn't really care and was just going to like do his best to make a good night of it for Higgins' sake. And we would be able to see on his face that he's just sort of enduring this.
No, he seems really into it the whole time. I agree. And he seems really, really thrilled for Higgins. That he gets called up on stage, and then afterwards he seems very proud, like he like looks around kind of and is just, you know, very like, that's guy, that's my guy up there. Very, very good.
He even like when they ask Higgins if he can play, he doesn't even say yes. Anything. So Will has to be like, he does, he's amazing, like he's really doing a good job in this episode.
And I like that it just Will is an interesting little background character, especially when you remember that Nate was the kit man, and then what an integral part he became in the show and in the team, right? So that's not going to happen for Will in that way. And if it did, like, we're not going to have another kit man become coach, at least not right away, right? So Will has just been really in the background, very unassuming, and like we've seen him asked to hang out once or twice. Like there's an episode earlier this week he asked somebody, I think is it Roy, after the breakout with Keely, where he talks about like maybe we could go have a couple of drinks after work or something.
He's talking to the both of them because he was in the locker room around the corner,
right,
when Jamie is questioning Roy.
Right. So we get like lots of little moments like that. And now finally somebody from the team, the organization, is like, come hang out with me tonight. Granted, it's not one of the players, but still it's somebody being like, hey, hang out with me. Yeah. And it just feels like, oh, okay. And
he's been drawn into the fold finally.
You know, and to see how much he genuinely seems to have enjoyed the night just made it. Oh my goodness, is everything okay in there?
Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but
I had a thing hanging behind me, and it just fell.
Oh, I just assumed the dog was involved.
No, that was just like a sign from the heavens. I don't like it.
All right, so Ted. Ted's night out. He finally drinks his mushroom tea. We don't see him do it. We just see that the glass is like only got a little bit left, and he like
he doesn't quite get it all down,
right? And he goes to this ridiculous restaurant. It's so weird to see another country's interpretation of what it is we're doing here in the States. And I know I said earlier that it's embarrassing to be American, but once again, I was deeply embarrassed.
It's so funny. It feels like if they put some sort of like standardized test in American schools in like the 4th grade, and they were asking them to like circle the most American things on the list, all of those like buttons have been pressed. And I love like everybody's speaking with an American, like kind of Southern-ish accent that feels like it's just such a fun idea to me, because we always will make fun of Americans doing British accents, but doing like the wrong one for whoever the character is. And it never occurred to me that people might just go to Southern for an American accent.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's very distinctive, and it's not, I don't know, it would just feel so much more over the top.
I love that Ted asked the guy, where is he from? Oh, you're from the States. Where are you from? And the guy is from Melbourne.
Ted is just genuinely like taken so aback. I love that he gets fooled by a fake accent. I would. I get fooled by people thinking that they're American all the time. Shiv on fucking, and Tom also. And there's just like a bunch of people that I find out literally years after they filmed something that they're actually Australian. And I'm always just like, I can't Oh my God. I really bought it. I really did. Jason from True Blood is Australian.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just like the concept of being able to be fooled. I think a lot of Americans think they wouldn't be, and I bet you fucking would be. I
love that it's included, because you're right. We all are just like, oh, we could spot it a mile away, and then we watch 8 million TV shows and never fucking pick it up ever.
Nope. Not a bit.
So with Americans, the American sized portions too, like.
Yep.
I know.
Did you guys see that mountain of onion rings?
Like
that was like a Sam's
top, right?
Club bag full of onion rings.
Like, I know our portions are larger than pretty much most places in the world. Like, I've read that before. I'm aware of that, even though I don't really travel. But when they came out of the kitchen with that fucking tower of fucking onion rings,
it really feels like
hold up.
It feels like exactly what you would do with a restaurant like this. You say American sized portions, and what you mean by that is, but if we were joking around, and you'd make them just so obscenely big you can share it with a table of 5 people. I really enjoy this concept. Although again, those onion rings, guys, not good.
I felt called out. All right, so we still have Ted's whole night, and we still have Jamie and fucking Roy's adventure on bikes to get to.
Okay, so let's get through Ted's thing.
All right.
Because he has wandered in here after drinking this tea with a whole vibe of waiting for this shit to kick in. Mm-hmm. And so there's a sort of like, I really liked the way he acted this. There's a sort of like expectation with every movement that he does and looks at, and every person he speaks to, where you feel him on edge, wondering, am I feeling it now? Is that anything? You know? And anybody who has done any drug of any type probably knows this. I'm talking, even if you've done ibuprofen, you've had moments where you're going, do I feel better? Is that feeling better? And
I like that he goes to the museum before he goes to dinner, and there's that whole thing about Van Gogh. And I thought he was going to start having the trippiness happen in this moment, and nothing happened. And I was like, oh, I mean, I wasn't disappointed, but I just thought that like the setup for that was going to, be like him staring at a painting, and then something was going to start going on, and nothing happens there, even though it's a lovely moment. And so when it does happen at the restaurant, like, I really appreciate what you're saying. It really, like, the way I was on edge waiting for it to kick in at the museum is basically what Ted ends up doing at the restaurant. Like you said, like, any second, is this it? Is this it? Is it it?
Yeah.
And then when it does finally happen, when he sees Nate, I was like, oh, here we go.
Oh my God.
Here we go.
Honestly, yeah. There was something up with that tea. Maybe it didn't kick in the way it should have, but it did something for a minute. Jason Sudeikis is a really good actor. I feel like every time I see him do something new, I am reminded again, oh yeah, you had this reaction last time you saw him do something. Yeah. You were like, God damn. Oh,
right? Yeah.
I know we talked about this, so I'm not going to get to it, but the number of people who are excellent comedians, I feel like that translate into great actors. I think that proportion has to be like a 1-to-1 basically, because you can't be good at acting in general if you don't have the kind of empathy that you need to do comedy well.
That's what I think. And timing. When you're a good comedic actor, you have to have really like good timing, and I think that lends itself to really knowing how to play a scene. And also, comedians tend to, if you're good, you play well against other people in your scene because there's so much back and forth, and so it like opens you up to let other people do what they need to do, and then you feed off of people in a different way. I don't know. I just agree with you. I think
do you remember that scene in 30 Rock where it's Liz and what is the blonde's name? Jenna.
Jenna?
Yeah.
Real life name
Mulroney. It's character name, right?
Yeah.
What's her real name?
Jane
Why?
Krakowski. Why do I know that?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't think that's her. Is that? I don't think that's her. Well, maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. So it's like a flashback to them doing an improv scene together, and they ask the audience for suggestions.
Oh my God.
And they get Oprah and Sling Blade. And she says, I do love these French fried potatoes. And Jenna says, no, you don't, Oprah. I laughed so hard at that joke, guys, the first time I watched that episode. It's just like such a great combo of completely misunderstanding who, and also you're supposed to yes and she just says no. Like straight up. No, you don't, Oprah. It's just so good.
That's a really solid joke.
Oh, God.
I hadn't thought about that in a long time. That's a fucking solid joke. Layers, like the layers. It's very good. It's very good. But yeah, and also like we talked about this before, we were talking about Jason. I didn't really check for him. Like I know he's done other things, but I know he was on Saturday Night Live. I didn't really watch when he was doing that. I think I've seen a couple of like clips over the years on YouTube. I know he's made movies. I don't know if I've seen any of them. I know I saw 2, but I only remember right now Colossal. Nope, I didn't see that. I think, and that's the one I think I told you when we started covering the show. That's the one where he's like abusive unexpectedly. Starts off as like a nice guy, and then and he's really menacing in that, and it made me turn on him for a little bit because he was way too convincing. He was really. It's a very like. That was the movie that was marketed as a sort of kaiju romp, and it turns out to be a serious like domestic abuse story, and it was really not smart or kind to market it that way, in my opinion. I don't even remember that being a thing. I think I said that when you first told me. We Are the Millers. I've seen like takeaways from it, but I've never like watched the whole movie, and that's it. So I was unprepared for just how good he actually is. I had no idea this was happening. So he's this fucking restaurant and with this giant pyramid of undercooked onion rings. And there's a lot going on, and the rest is a lot going on. He fucking tells the host is like, do you want to sit in the Windy City, the Big Apple, and maybe Vegas? I can't remember what the third one was. And Ted says Chicago. He makes he quotes Chicago and says like, tell them that Roxy is coming home, mama. Yeah, or something like that. And then says like Cicero or and the guy just deadpan doesn't get it. No. So then he says Chicago, and he still deadpans because it's only Windy City to them. They do not know. The rest of this is nonsense and bullshit. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. And it's so weird because for us, like, we just take so much for granted, you know? Mm-hmm. But, yeah, why would they know? Yeah, why would they know? Who cares? This is like a fucking restaurant at Disneyland. This is all made up shit as far as people are concerned, right? It's like being at the cantina or whatever the fuck the attraction is at Disneyland now. Oh my God. You know? Yep. And then they see them in the Chicago section. There's a giant poster of Chance the Rapper with his little 3 hat on, and a Bulls tying in with our triangle game like motif. Yep. So you got the triangle of the onion rings, the 3 on Chance's cap. He's watching the Bulls play. Makes a joke about, you know, I bet you $1 million, whatever the score is going to be. And I feel like the waitress is just like, I hear this joke all the time. So yeah, that makes sense, actually. I didn't think about that, but yeah. And then she asked about sauces. I love, this is not a real joke, but somewhere in the background of the restaurant, you just hear somebody saying, can I get ranch with that? And that's the most American fucking thing ever. And I laughed so goddamn hard. God. That really hit me in the gut. I was just like,
assaulted. How dare you?
I mean, we do love. I love ranch. I don't give a fuck. I love.
Listen,
ranch
I'm not saying,
dressing.
especially restaurant ranch hits different than ranch I buy at the grocery. I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's like some extra ingredient that they add, like an extra pound of butter or something.
There is. It's just like so much creamier. It's like you ever get like a watery ranch? You buy like a salad dressing, and it's all like thin and watery, and you're just like. But then when you go to a restaurant, you can dip a whole chip in it, and it's just like a big glob
Coated.
Oh,
this is why I think it's like
shit.
You add a cup of mayo to the dressing or something, like, because that's always the secret with restaurants. Why does it taste better? 1, they added more wine. 2, they added more garlic. Or 3, they added more fat, whether that be deep fryer fat or butter. I say added more garlic. It can also be shallots. Shallots are like a real, what is that flavor? It's like something, but it's not like, it's shallots. It's almost definitely always going to be shallots. Just use shallots and you'll be like, why is my food 10 times better? And that's why they're so good. But they also are more expensive and they make my eyes hurt worse than onions a lot of the time, which I think is crazy. I paused on this display of the sauces. Would you like to hear?
That's funny. And mine is paused on it too. Yeah.
Yay.
I can't read mine, so yeah.
We've got bolognese sauce, authentic sauce, but for dipping. Hoisin sauce. This will surprise you. Why? Tomato sauce. The original Tom sauce. What? I feel like that's like a Dutch joke. I don't know. Green sauce. Made with all green foods. Oh, I like this. I don't think they really intended anybody to stop and actually read this. I think it might be like enchilada sauce. It's covered up by his hand. It says, and you're ready to go. Chipotle tahini sauce. Something tahini base blended up with garlic. Okay. Something pesto. Peanut sauce, red pepper sauce. These are all so out of focus. You can't read anything.
Yeah, I can't believe you read as many as you did.
I expanded my my screen quite a bit. Jalapeno ranch, something butter tomato sauce, cilantro vinaigrette, cashew sauce, kale chimichurri, yum sauce, avocado cilantro, chipotle cashew curse. Looks like chipotle cashew queso. Oh God, no. Green tahini, everything marinade, Western sauce, smoky and something surfer deluxe.
I was about to say,
which is pineapple sauce.
Holy shit!
What's up?
You can't hear that?
No.
Thunder.
Ooh.
It's loud.
This one says Alskian freeze. I think it maybe is a typo and it was supposed to say Alaskan freeze. And it says needed for these hot nights. And the last one is romesco sauce served with grilled chicken, vegetables. Mm-hmm. And where it's like all of them have got a how hot the sauce is underneath.
Okay.
And everything almost is either medium or mild medium or will come in mild medium if you want it. So anyway, you guys know I love food, and I was just curious what was on that list. I will say that for me, this list looks like it came straight off of like a Cheesecake Factory menu, because they offer 30 of everything that you want a salad, they've got 30 salads. You want a pizza, they have 30 types of pizza. Like, it's insane. Their menu is a binder, Rashawn. Like a binder.
I don't think I've ever actually been to the Cheesecake Factory. Every time I've ever tried to go, it's
really an experience.
It's a wait, and I'm always just like, fuck this, we'll go somewhere else. I don't think I've ever actually been seated at a Cheesecake Factory, which was all the rage, especially when I lived in the South. Like, Friday night, Cheesecake Factory. in Charlotte. Told him I lived in Charlotte and in South Carolina. People were fucking upset. No one talks about the Cheesecake Factory up here. No one gives a fuck about the Cheesecake Factory here. Every weekend, that's all anybody talked about doing when I lived in North Carolina.
That's
Let's
so
go to
funny.
Cheesecake. Yeah, it was like big night out, Cheesecake Factory. Black people love Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, you know what? I did know that it was a black thing, but it makes sense that it's like more in the southern states as well. Like, you know, I just didn't think about that because like we had one right across from us when I lived in Connecticut. There was like a big kind of mall complex and they put one in. And I remember always being like, God, that I would love to try it because I love cheesecake so much. But I also had so many bad experiences with restaurant cheesecake that a part of me felt like if it's a chain, it's probably not going to be good. So I didn't try it until Owen's friend Austin got married and they had a Cheesecake Factory cheesecake along with their wedding cake. And I didn't know that's what it was. And I had a bite and I was like, this cheesecake is blowing my entire mind. What? Where did you get this? And when they said it was from there, I was like, I can't believe I've just been missing this whole time. I was so surprised. I didn't think it would be good.
Do you want to hear something weird? I lived across the street from a Cheesecake Factory, but not the restaurant. An actual Cheesecake Factory. True fucking story. True story. There was a place in Philadelphia.
I don't know why that feels like exactly you and exactly me. Something about it really is like, this is the thing about us.
Yep. Yeah.
You're at the place where like the thing that comes out is a good thing, but it's like work in a way that is standardized. We have a gray landscape in front of us as it's being filmed, and somehow you've made cheesecakes sad. And then we have the restaurant that's literally too much. That's the whole thing about them, is that it's too much. The decor is too much. The menu is too much. The number of deep fried is too much. This is us right there.
Yep.
I gotta make some art about this. I gotta figure this out.
Yeah, I forget what it was called. I can Google it, but there was and they made really good cheesecakes. And it was a little place, but yeah, and they little packages. It was a Cheesecake Factory. I guess you would call it a bakery, but it wasn't like retail.
No, factory bakeries are.
Yeah. It was a wholesale place. So yeah. But anyway, all right. So he tells the waitress it's her choice what kind of sauce she brings out, and she brings out an Arthur Bryant, which
wasn't on the menu. Maybe it was on the back. Looks like it's a two-sided menu.
Yeah. And he asked her, what made you bring this one? And she says, well, it's the best. And Arthur Bryant, I don't know exactly if there's supposed to be other connections, but when I did a quick look, it is from Kansas City, like in real life. It's like a famous barbecue chef person. Oh, there goes Nate.
Okay.
And it's from where Ted is from. It's from Ted's hometown. Like not just his state, but like where he's from. So.
Okay. So it's like really a kismet that she handed this one to him that is reminded, like, because the whole reason he made this visit was he would like, as he said, a taste of home was the words he used. And now he's got people around him that sound American to the point they've fooled him. And she knows the exact sauce, even though she doesn't know, but that's delightful. Okay. I love it. And he like looks around like, am I being pranked? Like, what is this?
And so, yeah, he's having his dinner. He's watching a game. He has that weird Nate guy walk by.
Oh my God.
And then all of a sudden,
I love thinking about the actor coming in just to film that.
Just to do this one bit.
Walk by in that fucking costume. Like.
So yeah, he has this moment with the true spirit of adventure, the TSA, which I mean, come on. And
this is really fun the way that it's done, because he gets pulled backward away from the table and everything turns black and there's a spotlight on him. And have you seen Ratatouille? the Pixar
I
movie.
love that movie. Yeah, I haven't seen
Do
it
you
in a couple
remember
years,
when the
but I really
critic
do love it.
eats the ratatouille and the camera like pulls out like and into his face?
Oh,
This reminded me
yeah.
of that moment so much. And then all of a sudden he has like a flashback to being a child and gets
Yeah.
like emotional eating this. And this is something that will happen with me because I am so connected to food with my growing up that I'll like smell something cooking and it feels like this, like I'm being pulled backward and there's just like darkness around me as I focus on this one memory, this moment, you know? I just love that. I thought it was so cool looking how they did
Yeah.
this.
This is very neat effect, and it's all explaining this triangle offense. We're not going to get into the details of it, but it's
I don't care about
moving
that.
triangles that, and all of this inspires Ted. Next thing you know, he comes out of it and he's furiously jotting. He asks one of the waiters for a pen, and he starts making notes in his little book that he got from the museum, and just writing it all down. And it's all about fluid movement, and as long as there are 3 players forming a triangle and they can move all across the field or the court or whatever and support each other but have freedom of moving. And then he comes out of this little fugue state or whatever, and there's like a happy birthday song happening, and they're all like,
yes,
like bouncing by him.
I really enjoy Yankee Doodle Burger Barn. Happy birthday, Yankee Doodle Burger Barn. Happy birthday, Mel. World War II was won by America, but the West was liberated thanks to Canada. Hey,
what? What is? I don't.
I don't know.
I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. The West was liberated by Canada. I feel like that is really specific to something, and I just don't know what they're talking about. And I didn't want to Google it because I don't even want to know. I want it to just live in my brain, rent free, taking up space.
There were 2 owners of Yankee Doodle Burger Barn. One of them was American and one was Canadian, and they each got a line to add to their happy birthday song. And he started with America won World War II, and then the other guy was like, oh, okay, well, now I have to amend what you said. And that's how it went. Anyway. Oh my God. We go from that moment to where
Will and Higgins.
Yeah, and Higgins is playing. He has his eyes closed. He is jamming out so hard.
Yeah,
loving it.
Like he's absolutely like he looks like a little lit too. I'm not gonna like
more than a little,
right? But he is just like having the best night. He's so into it. I love this woman. The singer comes down. She's so pretty. I don't know if she.
Oh my God.
She might. I don't know what the deal is, if she's anybody or not. But she comes over and invites him on stage, and like you said earlier, he is just like, he can't even speak. Like it's like a combination of kind of being drunk, also like no, I don't want to get on. I don't want to perform in front of people. Also, I can't believe she's talking to me and asking me. It's like all that happening at once.
Yeah,
it just doesn't even have the words. I love it. And then it cuts to the boys back at the lobby.
Oh my God.
Because I think I probably fast forwarded, but there was a moment where Isaac just gets up and tells everybody, like, what are we doing? What is happening? Why can't we figure out what we want to do? Why can't we come to a compromise and all that? And then Sam jots something down on one of the napkins, and then instead of just handing it to Isaac, he hands it to the guy next to him. And it goes like around in a circle, but we as the audience, we don't know what's on the napkin. Did you have any thoughts? What did you think before the reveal?
I thought it was going to be like, let's watch Iron Giant again, because Sam, for the record, has been really pushing for a regular movie night.
Yeah, he keeps saying we can just hang in, guys. We just, we don't have to get crazy. We can have a nice night at the hotel like we always do. And everybody is just so keyed up to the idea of having this big night out that nobody wants to just chill.
Yeah.
So we
Which,
get
like,
the
it's the sort of
reveal.
thing that for me, it's so hard to like understand, but also they live in the UK. So coming back to Amsterdam probably isn't completely out of the question if you regret not doing anything, you
That's
know?
true, and it's weird too because we find out that Roy. Oh, we're gonna run out of time without even talking about Roy and
We're
Jamie.
gonna have to record over off camera. So
Okay.
once again, sorry to our friends who are here, but you know, it's gonna happen.
Roy has never been to Amsterdam. Jamie has only been here twice before. And I was really shocked that, like, I just kind of made some wild assumptions about how people travel in Europe. And I just figured that they had been here a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's a sort of thing that I think is really easy to do. I mean, so many people would assume all of us have been to every state in the United States, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's easier to travel, yes, and probably cheaper, but it doesn't matter how cheap something is if you don't really have anything to do but tourist stuff. Getting there isn't the issue. It's like, how do I pay for the day there and whatnot? And we know a lot of these guys come from backgrounds where they probably just didn't have the chance.
That's true too. Yeah.
And then they're like in a career by the time they actually can afford it.
And then the amount of time and stuff that, you know, they spend training and then actually playing and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, Rashawn, we this. I have to stop us.
Okay.
Because when we come out and look at Ted, he is sitting at his table while the rest of the place is basically completely empty, using ketchup and mustard bottles to organize on the table. And the three servers are each standing there with a huge pint glass beer. And they're like, what is he doing? I don't know, but he's got my pen. Derek's going to make you buy a new one. Fucking hate Derek. Yeah. And then they all take a sip, and it's just such a good scene.
You know what's funny? Isn't the fucking manager at Taste of Athens, isn't his name Derek too? The restaurant manager where Nate likes to go.
I didn't. Oh my God. I love that. I would love, like, obviously this is not the case, but I would love him being the manager out here. Like, he's got a weird chain of very specific restaurants.
I love the idea that there are just a series of Dereks out there managing restaurants and they all suck.
It's just like the all of them being so united as they just drink, and they're not kicking him out. It looks like they maybe should. The lights are quite low.
Yeah.
It feels like the place is closed. And they're just sort of like, whatever.
Every ketchup and mustard bottle from the whole restaurant on his one table. I love too the sort of implication that as long as he's got the pen, he has the power. Like, that's what's keeping him, you know, like, that's why he's still there, is because he's got this dude's pen.
Anyway, so sorry. I knew we finished his thing, but I forgot about that moment, which cracked me up so bad.
That's
fucking
very good
hate
moment.
Derek. Yeah. But yeah, so the boys, the next time that we see them, it's like community style. They are facing across from each other, ready to do battle.
A bandana tied around his head.
It's so great. I loved it so much. There's just, I guess they've taken over the whole lobby. I'm trying to even understand how this would have worked out, because
this is why I thought that maybe it was a conference room or something, but I don't know. There's a lot of another look,
because when they're first talking about what they're going to do, there's lots of people sitting in the background. So it's definitely a lobby initially. And I'm wondering if they wound up moving once they realized what it was that they were going to do. They asked for a conference room.
Maybe they just waited everybody out, because it's been hours now. They've been at this all night. Maybe everybody else just went to their room.
It might be. I don't know though. It's Amsterdam. I feel like it's going to be busy until late in that. But either way, I like the idea that they were probably going to have to rent a conference room anyway, even if they were just going to do a movie night, because nobody's
Right.
room is going to fit all of them. So they were just like, yeah, we'll rent that room that we were talking about, but we will also do a completely goofy thing in there.
Now,
But yeah, so they go to town on each other, and not in the way that I wish. And they have a really good time.
Do you remember the pillow fight coming up in the earlier season?
Oh yeah, Ted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He suggests it when he very first takes over the team.
And he says, one day you're going to choose the pillow fight, and you're gonna thank me or something like that, And then they finally. That's where Sam gets the idea from.
Forgot about that. That's delightful. I completely forgot. I love a long gag when it's like. I don't mean that in the way I would like either, but
I mean, there has been an awful lot of dick jokes and dick sucking jokes tonight in this episode.
Okay, so full disclosure, may have had a little bit too much edible to compensate for the fact that I'm no longer a lightweight and I'm feeling it. So anytime you guys are listening to an episode and you're like, wow, Natasha keeps interrupting Rashawn, shut up, bitch. That's what's happening. Sorry about it. Not the first time.
Don't ever be sorry about it. So from the pillow fight, we go to Colin and Trent, who have gone back to the bar. So we should talk briefly about their night. We talked a little bit earlier, but basically Colin and Trent have a really heartfelt conversation. And one of the things Colin says, he says, I don't want to be a spokesperson. I'm not trying to be, a martyr or like a leader. I just, I'm living two lives, and I'd really just like to live my one whole life. And he says, he talks about how Dr. Sharon coming to the team helped him admit that he wasn't happy living this compartmentalized life, that he ached for, a wholeness to his life. And he tells Trent that, really all I want to do is to be able to kiss my fella when we win a game, the way the other guys can kiss their girls. And I
loved it. It was a really good delivery.
Yeah. It really, really was. Where do you think Colin goes from here? I mean, literally this night they just go back to Thunderdong and have a great time and find some vanilla vodka. But
I liked that the vanilla vodka gets brought back again too. Do you remember Roy drinking it?
Yes, he calls him a fucking child, and really it's just Colin likes it.
Yeah, Colin's like, well, what?
And I love
the bartender is even like, how fucking dare you? Of course we don't have that. Jesus Christ.
And then they go back and somebody suddenly has it for him, and it just feels like, it's meant to be.
I like the idea that there was the possibility we could have turned this into vanilla vodka's really girly, and so Roy makes fun of it, but of course the gay club has it. But instead it's like, no, even the gay clubs, no, we don't want this either. It's just bad. It's not girly. It's bad.
Right.
But they still go and find it, because sometimes you just like what you like, and it's trashy and you like it. And that's just, those two things can coexist. Makes me think of the raccoon postcard that I designed. I haven't unveiled it to the patrons yet. But Rashawn knows what I'm talking about, and someday you will too, listener. Okay, so we're about to run out of time on the camera, but those of you who hung out with us, Stacy, Chris, I think it was just the two of you.
Just the two, yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate y'all. And Rashawn and I are going to go on and talk about Roy and Jamie and what's happening with those two. This is just what I wanted. I wanted more time with the two of them together. I wanted to see the way that they play off each other in general. And I wanted Roy to be unexpectedly like have a learning experience,
right?
thanks to Jamie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
open up a little bit.
And
we get it.
We really did. It was such a good payoff. Yeah, I love, like, from the way it starts. You know, we're talking about earlier in the episode where, you know, it's almost comical. It's so extreme, you know.
Yeah.
This sort of, like, you know, the grumpy old guy and this little bouncing, you know, happy kid who's just like, look at this tidbit, and let's go look at the thinnest house and this, you know, all this stuff, and then it turns into something real, you know. And I don't know, like,
I just remembered because you were talking about like him pointing things out, like, look at this house, and I forgot that Trent points out the bells that they hear, and that the Anne Frank house was right nearby, and just like pointing out she heard those same bells every day. There's something about that got to me, like putting it in the perspective of a thing that's happening still right now to this day. I was like, oh God, that's very moving.
Yeah, right. It's sort of like it's like a remind when you think about especially big events like that, right? Like big historical events, and you feel like they're so removed from us. You know, like they exist almost in a different world.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get these really stark reminders that, oh no, this happened in this place that we live now. Like this is a real thing. It just happened. You know, there's still houses standing, you know, to remind you that, like, it wasn't some distant past or some other fucking universe, whatever. It was real, and it wasn't even that long ago. What does Colin say? I'm sorry, where he says where that giant pink triangle is, and Trent is just like, no.
I don't think that was there yet. Yeah. But I was thinking about it being like a metaphor for being trapped, hiding, you know, and the fact that the pink triangle has been taken for, like, considering that they were just talking about the Holocaust, and, you know, they're talking about Anne Frank, but the Holocaust also in its way. It just made me so startled to, like, be like, oh, right, that symbol was like, that's been taken and given its particular meaning now in a way that is like, we're going to reclaim it. But God, that came from a real bad place. I had forgotten.
Yeah.
So, okay. The deal with Roy and Jamie, as we have already mentioned, is just the the sense of Roy wanting to make Jamie miserable, and it's just not going to fucking work because Jamie is having a great time. And eventually Jamie's like, I can't believe you haven't been here before, because he's not really even considering that he's the only one with any knowledge. He's just thinking at first, I think, that Roy is being obstinate about showing enthusiasm for something, which is not an unreasonable thing to think he's being.
I mean, it's fucking Roy, right? Like, that just is how he moves. When Jamie realizes that it's actually not that, though, that it's just that Roy has never been here before, and there's like a switch goes off with Jamie a little bit, and suddenly he has all this compassion.
Yeah.
Which, considering how Roy's been treating him, he's training him, and that's great and everything, but Roy's also being kind of a dick, and has been bullying Jamie and he admits, taking out a lot of his own shit onto Jamie because he can.
Yeah.
And Jamie has a lot of compassion for Roy when he realizes that, like, oh, well, no, he's never been here before. He tells Jamie that windmills are fake.
I just he just points at a bunch of stuff because he's talking about how the whole place feels fake, like it's Disneyland or something. Which I thought was like a kind of interesting takeaway, and I'm not really sure if it's supposed to be like just because it's happy means it's not real. Which, I don't know, Roy, but you may want to talk to somebody about that. That sounds like why you're single now. But the whole like energy of just thinking this place is so fake. How can you enjoy it? I thought was a really surprising vibe from him, considering it's so like you've just been told so much of its history. How do you think it's fake? He's telling you all kinds of things that are like historical factoids and stuff, and you're acting like he's just making it up. I know he's not saying it's really fake, but it just felt weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, eventually Jamie's like, I've got a great idea. I'm going to show you how to like really live.
We need bikes.
And he finds this guy who steals bikes, I guess, on demand.
Completely stolen. He's got like one of the fucking chains or whatever, the yellow thing is like one of those puffy chains, like still hanging halfway off the bike when he hit the two.
So Jamie just hands him $100 and is like, all right, let's go. And Roy is digging his heels in. And Jamie's like, why are you making such a big deal out of this? And then Roy just blurts out, because they don't know how to ride a bike. And there's this really long pause, and both Jamie and the thief start cracking up. But eventually we find out that Roy's grandfather had promised to teach him how to ride. And when he died before he got back from the hospital or wherever it was.
Yeah. He went to, when he goes to Southern to play football. When he's like a little kid and he goes off to that team, and then his grandpa dies before he comes back home. I love that Roy finishes that sentence. He goes, and now that I'm saying it out loud, I realize I did a great disrespect to his memory by never learning how to ride a bike.
This is the thing, because if Jamie had tried to suggest, don't you think he would have wanted you to learn? It would feel so... It would not feel like Jamie. Yep. It would feel like we're doing a thing for this scene to work, you know? Yep. So I love that he hears himself as he says it out loud.
I love it, because isn't that kind of how it is sometimes, where you hear yourself say the thing, and as you're saying it, you're just like, oh my God, there it is. Like as it's coming out of your mouth.
That's what all my podcast is. Yeah. My podcast is my therapy, but unfortunately, like, really just me having like moments like that, and then continuing on to talk about that part where she catches him cheating. Like, I don't process it, so I pretend to myself that I just really accomplished something by knowing this. But do I work on it? No, I don't. I just go, woo, maybe I should edit that out. Nope, I'm leaving it in.
There's like so much happening with this. There's like when him and Jamie are going for the windmills, I was like, fuck, I haven't read Don Quixote since I was like in high school. I'm like, do I need to go to fucking Goodreads and brush up on that? I feel like there's probably like, there's like the windmills and the two guys. Isn't it like two people? It's like Don Quixote, and then he's got like his sidekick.
And his faithful sidekick guy. I can't remember his name.
Right. And so then I was like, but no one's doing all that. I'm not getting my little Cliff Notes version of that back out from my closet. But I'm sure there's all kinds of symbolism that the show was probably leaning into there.
I was thinking that windmills meant like not sex shop, like a sex worker hire. What do you call? Would you call it a brothel? I guess a brothel. That's what I thought at first, that windmills were brothels. And that was what they symbolized. And then that this was like, the kind of like shorthand where a certain symbol means a thing, even though you would never think it meant the thing. It's just understood wherever you're from. You know what I mean? So that was like how I was taking it at first. And I was like, oh, but they want to do this together. That doesn't sound like something they would be interested in. What is? And then it just turns out that they're literally like going just and searching for actual windmills. And I was like, oh, I kept thinking this meant something. And I love that we both had it in such totally different directions. I'm over here. You're like, well, probably it's a reference to the classic story Don Quixote, and allegory for mental health and the pursuit of something just out of reach, or maybe isn't even real. And I'm like, I thought they were going to go to a whorehouse.
Jamie also tells Roy a story about when he had visited Amsterdam once with his father, and his dad was trying to, like, one of the times where his parents were going to, like, try to work it out. So his dad was being, like, Jamie puts it, as being like super dad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then his father caps off that trip by taking Jamie to a whorehouse. So there's a segue, since we're talking about whorehouses. Takes his son to lose his virginity at one of the famous red light district houses. Mm-hmm. And friends, if we had forgotten kind of what a piece of shit Jamie Tartt's father was, there's a little itty bitty reminder. But and then Jamie's second story is he came back another time with his mother and had a wonderful...
I'm sorry, I just really want to acknowledge how mystified his dad would be to hear us say bringing your son to lose his virginity here makes you a piece of shit, because, like, probably he'd be like, that's me being a good dad. I was very attentive to my son. And it was a real bonding experience. And as you can see, he is not traumatized by it. So I don't know what your problem is, but he remembers it fondly. And it's just funny because there's just such a totally different perspective sometimes with people, and the way that they see... You and I will see something as genuinely red flag territory, and they're like, that's the good part. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are still dudes out there who handle raising kids like this, raising sons, because no dude is bringing his daughter.
Sure,
you know,
they
that's
sure
not
aren't.
How that goes.
They sure aren't. But I just the idea of something like that is just, and I don't know if Jamie says exactly how old he was in this memory. He may have mentioned it, but I don't remember. So, you know, he might have been 16 or 17 or, you know, even 18 possibly, but it's something about it makes me feel like he was younger than that. But I don't know. I don't even think it matters how old he is. That's just not something you do with your fucking kid, dude. Come on, get out of here with that. That's nonsense.
Agree.
Cut it out. But it's just such a it's such a, I would feel like, a really vulnerable story for Jamie to share. You know, even though when he's telling it, it's not like he's breaking down, he's not sobbing, he's not like bearing his soul. You know what I mean? It's not like an overly emotional moment. But just to see these two men both, I don't know, just we've talked about it before, how they let masculinity be everything that it can be in this show.
Yeah.
You know, they just allow for so much with these characters. They let these men be all kinds of things. You know, they can be deeply vulnerable. They can be, you know, having pillow fights. They can want to go to see a sex show, you know, because it's just a fucking touristy thing to do. You know, they can just occupy all these different spaces, you know, and to have such a breadth and range of emotion and be like real full people, even though a lot of the characters we don't even get to know that well, right? Yeah. Like, we don't know every dude on the team. We know there's some, you know, a lot of the names, but we don't spend a lot of time with every character. But yet it really does feel like they somehow manage to, even the characters we only know a little bit of, they still feel like wholly realized people. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, and it's just it continues to surprise me at how well the show does that, and have these moments between these men that we just don't see a lot of across our different TV shows and movies that we consume. I don't know.
Yeah, right? It's really like, and the fact that Roy is also, he has been so resistant all evening to Jamie's good mood. I feel like Jamie sharing this, he doesn't intend to be vulnerable. I think you're right in that in a lot of ways, I don't think he really gets what's actually disturbing about this story based on his reaction to like Roy saying that must have been traumatizing, and he seems truly puzzled. So I don't think this is like Jamie trying to get Roy to open up, but it's just the fact that he's going ahead and doing it that I think catches Roy off guard, because there's no reason for Jamie to feel safe with Roy telling him anything. So it's sort of perfect that Jamie doesn't see it that way, actually. So that wasn't it for him, because if it were him making himself vulnerable, he wouldn't be doing it, probably. But it's something that he misunderstands the way someone else will hear it. And thus it tricks Roy in a way into like opening up. You know what I mean? A little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say a little bit that I think that Jamie kind of gets that the story he's telling about his dad is fucked up. I just think he's doing it in that way that a lot of people do with their trauma, where they just sort of tell the thing matter of factly, because you know that meme where it's like you tell somebody something that you think is a funny story, and when you're done, they're looking at you like, "Girl, are you okay?" Right? I think it's like one of those.
Gotcha. That's fair. Oh man, yeah, we've all had one of those. Like I said, that's the podcast. But yeah, so the whole connection between the two of them, I just really enjoyed. Eventually we get to a point where Roy says, I think Keely has a girlfriend. And we get the real, like, him admitting this fucks him up. It fucks him up, and he doesn't want, I mean, again, Jamie is also her ex. Like, it's a real awkward situation. And what is it that Jamie says in response? Does he just say, like, do you want to get a beer or something? I can't remember, because it's like basically a one-word answer.
I'm sorry. I think I'm trying to get back to it. I went kind of
Oh my God, this started playing the next episode and I didn't notice. So I just went back to my window because it was playing when I left. And it's like 10 minutes into episode 7.
Get out of there.
Christ's sake. I didn't see anything except for somebody getting complimented on their hat. So that's a spoiler, I guess. Somebody's got a hat people like in the next episode, guys. But yeah, that's all I got. So I just, the Apple player leaves a lot to be desired. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm sorry I complain about it so much.
I can't get to back to the Roy and Jamie scene after Roy says, I think Keely's got a girlfriend. Oh wait, nope. I did just get to the part where Roy crashes though. He just veers off the road into the bushes, and you just hear a fuck come out through the trees. But yeah, so now I'm mostly past it. It's the next morning already now that I'm watching.
Okay.
So yeah. So we just see everybody the following morning. Rebecca and the Dutchman having their goodbye. There's a kiss. He's making some delicious looking eggs. She asked, did we? And he says no. And then when she leaves, she says, yes, we absolutely did.
Hot, guys. I need them to hook up, please. Please, please. Thank you. I don't know how this would even happen. I don't know how they would run into each other again.
I mean,
it's a houseboat. Maybe he just, boats around in his house and just happens to wind up somewhere and sees her on television.
I was going to say, like, she's fairly high profile, I guess, but he's got really nothing to go on. He knows she's English. There's a big match in town, but like whether or not he would connect the dots, that's quite a leap, right? To go from, hey, I met this British chick to, English football club was just in town. I wonder if she's the owner. Like, who makes that leap?
Yeah.
But if he's a fan, he might be flipping through a magazine and might see her face one day. So
Maybe he watched the friendly match today and he knew who she was the whole time.
Ooh, duplicitous. You think he could keep it a secret like that?
I don't know what he would do. He's a mystery.
That's true. He is a man of mystery.
Yeah. International.
We have Beard rolling out of a van dressed as Piggy Stardust, which Ted gets on the first guess. Amazing.
He says something to him about that get them out of their pineapple percussions, and Ted figures out this means doldrums, and I was so mad.
I like too that Will sees Beard roll out the van and is like, "You speak Dutch?" And Beard says, "Yeah, don't tell Jan." Because, like, why? Why not? But so good. And so then eventually everybody shows up. Will's on the phone with his mom talking about a great night. They're all loaded up on a bus. They're doing a count and they're short 2 people. And then Roy and Jamie come up on one bike. I also love that when they're riding the bike, they play that fucking "Let Me Tell You About My Best Friend."
Yes.
Which always gets played whenever people are on bikes, and I always forget why. So I have to like do the search. I do it every time, you guys. I'm like, why does that song play whenever people are on a bicycle? I don't get it. And then I go to Google and I go, oh, that's right, the movie.
What is the movie?
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
That's from that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Okay. I've seen that movie a couple times and I don't remember this. How weird.
I haven't seen it. I think I saw it once when I was a kid. I don't know anything about the movie. Am I even saying it right? Or is it the other way around? Is it Sundance Kid and Butch? I'm pretty sure it's Butch Cassidy.
No, it's Butch Cassidy and the
right?
Sundance Kid. Yeah. I
But
said Sundance.
you did. but I know it's from that, but I can't remember. I think he's teaching him how to ride a bike in that too. In that scene. But I don't remember.
So
but
funny. Okay.
But it's weird because it popped up in The Simpsons too. And it's just a recurring, theme. Wherever people are on bikes, that fucking song has to play. But I do love the song. Oh wait, no, it's not delightful. Best Friend. It's the Raindrop song, right? Raindrops keep falling on my head. That's the song that plays. Yeah, and it's in The Simpsons. It's in like 2 other sitcoms. People do love referencing it. And then finally everybody is on the bus and I love Rebecca. Rebecca looks high.
Yeah.
She's so fulfilled. She looks high.
This is what Roy was saying she needed to wait for.
Mm-hmm.
When they were talking about like the dude that just didn't really do anything for her.
Yep.
I can't remember the wording that he used. But it was
struck you should feel like you've been struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm. And I just the chemistry between the two of them. It's the sort of thing that if I found out they had an affair during filming or after filming,
you mean
I
in
would
real
be like,
life?
"Yep." Mm-hmm.
You're saying the chemistry is that off the charts? Do you think they're fucking in real life?
I could see it. I'm just saying that I could see it. It surprisingly happens like so much. And the one that I always think of as like an example of me going, oh yeah, I get it, was when Tom Cruise wound up leaving Nicole Kidman for Penelope Cruz. The chemistry that he has with her in Vanilla Sky is fucking insane. I was like, oh yeah, they definitely actually want to fuck for sure. Like,
did he leave her for her? I don't remember. I don't remember that that's what happened to their marriage. That's so weird.
You don't?
Did he date? I remember them breaking up, but in my mind, it's like Nicole Kidman and then that little girl he married. I forgot all about Penelope Cruz being in the mix.
The little girl he married. Who'd he marry?
She wasn't a little girl, but she was a little girl.
I hope not.
The one from fucking the teen girl, the teen drama girl. Come on, guys, help me out.
Selena Gomez.
No, teen girl from 20 years ago. Katie Holmes.
Oh, right. I forgot about her.
Right.
Weird.
So in my
Yeah.
memory, it's like he left Nicole Kidman and then I turned around and he was jumping on Oprah's couch talking about how much in love he was with this little girl. I completely forgot about the movie and Penelope Cruz and all that drama. I forgot all about that.
I'm just double checking this. So naturally, when the star left her for the Spanish beauty Penelope Cruz, yes, yep. So I love that this pops up from Fandom Wire, and it says, even though these rumors portrayed him as a womanizer, the one rumor that has been around for ages, that he was gay, still persists. I had never heard that rumor, but sure.
You didn't know that?
No.
You never heard that rumor?
Nope.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They've been saying that for years. Tom Cruise is gay. For years and
I
years and
know
years and
that.
years and years. My whole life. Yep. So we get Ted on the bus and he is excited. He shows Beard his notes from his night out. Does this look like anything to you? And it turns out that not only does it look like a thing, it looks like a thing that already exists and it has a name and it was invented right here in this same country. And it's a well-known tactic.
I love it. And he's not some savant who somehow managed to connect with the universal icon for football rang in his soul because he got stoned on some fucking mushrooms. He just thought of an idea that is very much an idea that people have had because it's not revolutionary. Oh, right. This thing that the Bulls did, nobody has ever thought to take one sport's tactics to use in another sport in the history of sports. Only Ted has ever thought of this. I really appreciated it.
And I love that Beard doesn't not necessarily super judgy about the whole thing, right? He's not a dick about it. He's just yeah, you should call it this because that's what it's called. and then Ted also is just well, you think we should try it though? He doesn't get completely derailed because it's not some mystic connection he had, right? He's just
yeah.
Do you think we should try it? And Beard is oh yeah, we should definitely try it. Because ultimately that's what's important is this something that we can bring to the team that will give us success, right? It doesn't necessarily matter. It's not about the ego, right? It's not about, I came up with this thing that no one has ever thought of before. It's just a matter of, is this something that we can bring to the team that might help us, lead us to success? Is this something we can use? That's what's important,
Have you ever thought you invented a way to do something and then found out everybody already knows this already?
I feel confident that I have. I'm sure I have.
I've done this so many times. So many. It happens a lot when you do crafts and stuff because you'll learn the basics of something. And then you get started and you don't keep watching necessarily all kinds of tutorials and stuff once you've figured out enough to do what you wanted to do. And so I've had it happen a lot where I will I'll be facing a particular problem and I won't consider going to check it out for whatever reason, just because it's such a minor thing. And then I'll find something that works really well and be oh, you know what you do. And then one day I'll be on Facebook and somebody will say, hey, this thing happened when I tried to bake this cake. And 50 people will be telling them the thing that I figured out by accident and thought I was a real fucking galaxy brain for. It turns out if you've had real training, you just know because that's taught as part of the way to make this cake or whatever. You guys, it's embarrassing. Every time I'm just why did I think I had just stumbled upon a solution literally nobody else would have tried? It's so arrogant. But yeah, I really enjoyed this.
Those humbling moments. I in his little notebook, he shows Beer and it just says triangles and then it says triangles and then it says try, TRY angles. And then finally the bottom says try angels.
I didn't even see that. That makes the idea that was a dud batch even funnier, because that's how Ted would work it normally.
So yeah, then it ends with everybody singing the "Don't Worry About It." I love what does she say? Rebecca says something, and he says, "Is that Keats?" What did she say?
She says, "My phone is at the bottom of a canal."
Right, that's right.
Oh my God. I
it's
forgot
good
that
stuff.
he is like, I forgot that he confronts her at this point, just basically like, what the fuck? You never texted me back, and you're walking in here like chill as hell.
Like everything is fine. It's like, oh, he's like, are we okay? Are we good?
Shit is not fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah.
I know that I've said to oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jamie jumps on a bus and he goes, "We saw a windmill," and then everybody just applauds. I don't know why, but
oh my God. I was just going to, now it's stupid to bring it back up, but I'm doing it.
No, go ahead.
I've told you about that you need to watch Bob's Burgers, which I really think you would enjoy a lot.
I started watching.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I started watching a while ago. I'm not like
it takes about
up,
10 episodes to me to start to get to a place where I really was like in with the characters.
Yeah, I got there.
There is a moment where he has been baking some bread, and it turns out he's not good at it. The bread is not good. And he hands it to this guy to try, who's already had it and knows it's not good. So the guy pretends to like fumble it and drop it so that it rolls down a hill away from them. And he says, "Oh, sorry, that got away from me there." And Bob was like, "It didn't get away. It's bread. You threw it. You just threw it away. You didn't get away from you." And the guy's like, "Well, yeah, I was just, I was trying to save your feelings because I don't want to eat it." And finally Bob is like, "Oh, yeah. Well, I was just, yeah." And the guy goes, "Yeah, kind of an unnecessary confrontation there. Okay." And then they just move along with the conversation.
It took a while for it to grow in me, but yeah, I finally fell for it, and yeah, it's actually a
Owen
very, very
is
good
Gene.
show. Oh my God,
He's Gene.
Oh my God,
just randomly shouting some shit that's like a little bit upsetting, but like he doesn't mean it to be, and it's wholesome in its way, but you're kind of like, ooh, keep that to yourself.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
He asked me one day, "Am I a Gene?" And I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
I don't want to get us too derailed. We got to wrap this up, but there's an episode of fucking where fucking all right, what are the kids? It's Jean, Louise, and the eldest daughter,
Tina.
Tina falls in love with like the milk boy from behind the fridge at the grocery. He like
yes
behind them.
Yep.
That show is really good. It took me forever to give it a chance. And
Same.
You're right. It takes a little while for you to get like the rhythm and for them to find their own rhythm. But it's actually fucking really funny. I was mad how funny it was. I was mad.
Louise is like Owen's favorite because she's just out here advocating crime, literally as a solution to like everything.
Chaos.
That actress does the voice for the sister in Gravity Falls as well, who is such a dramatically different character. That character's name is Mabel, and that's me.
Oh yeah.
If you watch Gravity Falls, I'm Mabel.
Yeah.
Like
you
1,000%.
You are Mabel.
I'm also a little dipper, but mostly like it'll really come out when I'm around Owen, and he does the sort of like, we don't have time to do that, and I will literally be the one going, we do, sure we do, we'll do it, let's just do it. And I do not like that normally. until he's around being cranky. And then I dial it up to like compensate. And then it really comes out and I Mabel it all the way up. Something I've learned about myself. There's no easier way for me to be cheerful than to be around somebody who isn't. And then I can turn it all the way on. I can't do it alone by myself. Why would I do that?
You
For
just
my
need
own
the
sake?
proper motive. No, you got to overcompensate for somebody else.
Exactly. I have to put in labor to make other people feel comfortable and better. Anyway, gonna skate past that one too.
Well,
that's about it.
I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I'm really glad. I was, like I said at the beginning, I wasn't sure how this was going to land, but I was hopeful that you would enjoy it as much as I did, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I really, you guys, this is what like I want fanfic to be, is just like somebody who really knows the characters well, and they just write goofy little like, and that's why I like the real short ones that you see on Tumblr, where it's just like a little bite size of what these characters would be like in this situation. I live for that shit. It's the best. So this is like that. It's dessert.
Well, good. Well, we'll see what next week brings for us. But yeah, I love that it feels to me like this was a sort of a reset, right? Mm-hmm. So we will see what the rest of the season. This was episode 6.
Yes.
Right.
And we got 12, right? Altogether.
I think so. So we're about halfway through the season. Still like not a lot, but a lot left. A lot of story left to tell. Not a lot of episodes left, but a lot of story left to tell. I'll say it that way.
I would imagine, yeah.
So, briefly, are there some things you're looking forward to seeing that you hope to see in the next episode? Some plot lines we pick up on, or more people you want to see, or less people you want to see?
I want to get back to the Rupert-Nate dynamic, because I do not know, there's I think it was in the Discord, somebody said, like, I have to assume Nate already was aware Rupert was cheating from when he was at the club. And I really like that sort of surprised me, but then I thought, well, maybe, but he did seem surprised in the scene. So like, I can't tell if it's just that, oh yeah, I forgot that this guy's kind of a creep. And that was the surprise, but I want to see more of the way the two of them are together, especially because it felt like Nate was like inching toward seeing that Ted wasn't who he had accused him of being. Mm-hmm. And also there's a girl from the restaurant who
Jade.
I personally have no real feelings about whether I want this to be like a real thing. I don't feel like they have chemistry personally. So I don't think like I would buy it so much if it turned out they were seeing each other. But if they decide to do it, that's fine.
Okay.
So... But yeah, I just kind of want to check in with Nate for a little bit here.
All right. Well, kids, I think that's everything for this episode that went much longer. I don't know what is going on this season where we cannot get an episode. The episodes are longer this season.
They are way longer.
They are way longer. That's really what it is. And I was all like about to blame us. These motherfuckers are a lot longer than they were the first 2 seasons. So
yeah, I was really surprised when I started watching this. I was thinking I was watching it a little bit too early.
Yeah,
like
this one was
and then I was sort of going. Yeah, I was like looking up going, oh my God, it's like almost 7. I thought I was going to have all this time. So yeah, it's, I think that one of the episodes, I think I saw the runtime was like a little over an hour or something. There was like a surprisingly long one. And I do remember there being some rumblings about this. I didn't see spoilers, but I saw people talking about how they felt like the show had gotten kind of bloated. And personally disagree, but also if you are kind of wanting it for the short format of it, and it becomes much more of a like time sink show than it used to be, I could see kind of being like, Jesus, how did this even happen?
Yeah. I just remember being like surprised at how long. I mean, when I saw the runtime, when the season was announced, I was like, oh, because, I wanted all of the show. Like, give me. But it is, it affects the sort of the pacing.
Yeah.
And in like the other early two seasons, everything was like really tight. And these can feel a little bit like, well, where are we going now? You know?
Yeah.
But I don't mind it. I am so in love with this world and so in love with these characters that I was just like, yeah, give me all of the episodes. Give me all of the hour episodes. But I did not consider that when I started to think about the actual podcasting of the episodes and what kind of impact that was going to have on us.
Yeah, true.
That I did not.
Hopefully the people who come to the lives will just be delighted to have some bonus content that they didn't already hear.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I hope so.
You know.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, I'm going to wait until next week to say hi to new patrons. I'm actually not even sure that I have a new patron this time. But if I do, I will say hi to you next time since we are so far over. Forgive me. And also I just want to put it out there. Thank you guys all so much for bearing with me with having the dog in the background now, because like I really thought that we would no longer have dogs in the background once Sam got healed up, but it has turned into having to keep him and Pip separate at all times thing because they've started fighting, which is why we're trying to find him a home. And this has resulted in like one of the two of them almost always having to be in the office with me now. And it's an adjustment. So I feel like I've started to learn how to manage it better. It's not perfect as I had to get up and take him out during a recording today. But
then you also had a thing jump off of your wall that wasn't even dog related. So, things are just going to happen sometime.
It's a little bit of a chaos over here. Although, did you see behind me that I had cleaned up my office? When I was on camera?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. I haven't, like, this office has been a complete pile of random stuff for months and months and months at this point, probably like 8. And it was depressing me. And finally, the other day, I had it in me to like tidy it up and organize. And God, it feels so much better. It just does feel so much better to be in this room now. It's crazy how much of a difference that makes. I'm so sorry. Good. I just said that I don't have time to say hi to patrons. And I'm over here talking about my fucking organizing. I'm sorry.
Edibles are going to do what they do.
They are doing that. I forgot. Oh, okay, that's on me.
I love that you keep forgetting.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, y'all.
No, my hands won't be tied down, and I will not lay them down, 'cause I can finally see the truth. So simple but so clear, accepting an ocean's depths were out of reach for me and you. If you're coming up for air, breathing in, you know I'll be there when you first begin. And when everybody's telling us we have no time, we'll prove them wrong.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.